All right, welcome back to the Southbound Sports Show. I'm here with Jeff in the top left and Matty B in the bottom left. I am your host, Richie Leahy, down in the bottom right below our Southbound Sports logo. Second time streaming with three people. Looks like we got the video stuff sorted out for the most part. You can see everyone better this week. Again, I apologize for last week. Start to tell your friends. We're going to be doing this every Tuesday, and subscribe, basically all that stuff. We're live streaming on YouTube, so make sure you subscribe to us there, and we'll be tweeting stuff out, but we're going to go right ahead and get into the show. Last week we talked about the NBA draft. I was concerned that the Celtics finally got a number one pick overall, and the top two guys that everyone has as a consensus are both point guards. And Matty B, being a 76ers fan, there was a big trade last week. I actually don't remember when it went down. But they flipped basically the first and third pick. Kind of put the Celtics in a position, I feel, to be more productive. I saw a lot of backlash on it. But with two or three point guards already on the roster, it's not really that big of a rebuild, I felt. I felt it was good for both teams, to be honest. From a 76ers side, Matt, what did you think?
I loved it. I think when you look at the Sixers, they're built with big men, and they have plenty of size with Noel and Okafor and Embiid. They have the big guys that they need. What they've been hurting for in the last draft or so, trying to boost up people. They've been trying to pick up those point guard / shooting guard type positions, and it just wasn't. The draft wasn't. The lottery system wasn't helping them because it was bouncing back and hurting them. They'd fall back far enough that they could still get a quality player, but they ended up being the forward / center types that really wasn't going to help them with where they needed. They took quality people, but at the same time, they weren't structuring their starting five or starting 6 or 7 to be as competitive because they were stuck taking these quality big men but didn't have anyone else to play with.
Yeah, and that's why I wanted the Celtics to make that jump. I think it might have been in Embiid, I don't remember. But the one year, they had the number one pick. They had already drafted 2 or 3 big men in a row. That was the consensus number one pick. But instead of making the move, I don't know if it was a GM, he didn't want to make the move down, or maybe he thought he could trade later. He went ahead and drafted yet another big man. And that's where I feel the Celtics have a strong point with point guards. Again, I don't know too much about the contract details and stuff. I know the guys should be around for another year or so. But you have 3 guys that can play point guard already, and Bradley, Smart, and Isaiah Thomas. Drafting another point guard just doesn't help the rebuild. You can't just keep drafting the same positions over and over. So now I feel like there's going to be some power forwards that are available. 76ers needed a point guard. Now they have their pick because the Lakers, it's looking like the Lakers are going to take a point guard as well. So, I mean, the Sixers can get their guy, whoever they want, whether they're going to take a chance on Ball, which I don't think they will.
No.
They're going to get the kid from Washington.
No. Yep, Markelle Fultz.
Yep.
And everything that I've been reading, it's a year where consensusly he's the guy. No matter who was in that number one spot, he was going to be and I need to watch more film on him because I know the name, and I know, just by looking up stuff about him, that everyone's going crazy about him at college, but he wasn't someone that during the season stood out, maybe because we're East Coast and he's playing out in Washington, that we're not going to get as much airtime over on this side. But definitely it seems like everything they're saying is he's like Kyrie Irving times 2.
Yeah. And that's like when you have a rebuild, you need to start with, it's not so much centers anymore. You need to get some playmakers down low. A point guard themselves isn't going to make the team. And so I don't get the backlash from the Celtics side. And like I said, I think it works out for both teams. Now with that, the Lakers looking like they're going to take a point guard. Some rumors started to come out that LeBron has been looking west. Either of you guys have a thought on that?
Yeah, I think it's pretty interesting. I noticed today with the GM being let go for the Cavs, that there's now a lot of talk about LeBron's going to jump ship next year. when his contract extension is up. I think it's not going to happen, to be honest. I think there's two options. LeBron is going to stay in Cleveland, or he's going to look for a championship team. And there's rumors circulating about the Lakers, but I don't think they have enough right now. And I don't know what your guys' thoughts on this, but there's a lot of people that are talking about Paul George going to the Lakers for maybe Julius Randle. I'm not really sure how that benefits either team, to be honest. I don't know what your guys' thoughts are on that.
Well, I had heard, and this is kind of the silly season for the NBA, but there's rumor that, if LeBron does jump ship, he's able to pull other people along the lines that they possibly could be in the running for a couple different people. One of the other things that I kind of think why he wouldn't is to go to the Lakers. He's now coming into Kobe territory. Anyone that goes there now is going to be compared to that standard of you're going to be compared with Kobe. And even if LeBron's able to pull the type of people that he can in, even if they have the superstar team, if they don't win the championships, he's always going to be, we went to LA and couldn't do what Kobe did.
Yeah, and that's where I think Woj was saying that he's either going to go to the Lakers or the Clippers. I think it makes more sense for him to go to the Clippers for that reason. He can be the guy. LA isn't a big sports town. Like, they're more casual fans just because of the movie industry and the industries that are around there. They're not having these diehard fans. I mean, even the Raiders in America's sport football, basically, they couldn't even draw enough guys to warrant staying there. So is whatever team's winning, that's where the celebrities are going to show up. If LeBron goes to the Clippers, all those guys that you see at the Lakers courtside seats, they'll be switching. And I know he's friends with Chris Paul. So if he's there, there's a good chance that he can have a point guard that he enjoys playing with. Not saying that he doesn't like playing with Kyrie, but I do know that they get into some back and forth. He doesn't like the way the offense is run. He doesn't like the way the front office is run. They kick out the GM, who LeBron was a fan of. I just don't know. At this point for his legacy is going to be a guy that just jumps teams. Yeah, he has a bunch of stats, but for the Hall of Fame, if let's say he goes out west, he wins another championship out there. That gives him 3 different championship teams that he's been a part of, franchises. So he's not like that one guy. Like if you look at Jordan, he's on the Bulls. Like the guy he's compared to. Kobe, he's on the Lakers. Like he is associated with them. LeBron, he's just jumping around. And so for that reason, for his legacy, I don't see him moving again.
I don't foresee that, but while we're on the topic of some of these players moving around, I don't know if you had seen this, but there's rumors that Blake Griffin would be leaving the Clippers to go to Boston. What are your thoughts on that?
To be honest, I was hoping they could pull more of a Paul George, someone who can get some playmaking. I know they have Crowder. So, yeah, another big athletic guy down low, it doesn't hurt. That's basically what the Celtics are. Is Blake Griffin, they're one player away, one big playmaker, someone who needs a double teams, someone to take some pressure off these other guys. It was basically kind of Isaiah by himself at the end. He doesn't have the height to go ahead and take it to some of these bigger guys, so you can kind of offset him even though he's a great scorer. Like Allen Iverson couldn't do it by himself. I feel like Isaiah Thomas is kind of a lighter version of that when he has the ball, which is not going to get it done in the league. So, yeah, they need a big man. He needs someone he can do pick and rolls with. If Blake Griffin, if he still has the athleticism, bring him. But I was hoping that they would be able to land more of a splash. Like last year, they were close, like I said, on Durant. Look how that turned out. Now he's kind of like the heel. I feel like the NBA is basically turning themselves into the WWE. Just like the sports version. I mean, that's kind of what they're pitching it as. Like they have the villains, they have the heroes, all these guys. They focus more on the guys, not the teams, as I said last week. So, I don't know. I don't know if it would make them instant championship contenders. If LeBron leaves the East and he goes out West, I'm all for it because that means the Celtics would probably be in the NBA Finals, and anything can happen in a finals in a series. So, hey, take that shot instead of having a prayer's chance in the Eastern Conference Finals. I'll take that chance being in the NBA Finals.
I wasn't really thinking about it, but that brings up, an interesting topic. If LeBron leaves the East, that conference becomes very, very competitive. You have the Bulls, you have the Celtics, I think even if Paul George stays with the Pacers, that's a very, very competitive conference. With that being said, if LeBron goes out west, you have LeBron in the West, you have all of Golden State. If the Clippers stay like they are, you have the Spurs. That could be some great basketball in the West. You put LeBron in that mix, but I'm not really sure. Like you guys are talking about, he would have to go to the Lakers, right? They'd be the only really interested team other than the Clippers.
Yeah, every time the summer comes, like Matt said, it's a new thing. They started up. It's a silly season, and everyone in the sports media pushes for the Lakers for the same reason, because they get ratings. So they want some team to go. They want someone to go there. Anyone that is remotely non-casual, like anyone that watches sports or reads about it, they knew Durant was never going to the Lakers. Just because there's no point in there. He might as well just stayed with the Thunder. He had no chance to win with the Lakers. They were basically a shit show at that point. They still are. So why would LeBron want to go there? Some media guy probably is just spinning it out there, hoping for them to be right, just because he would rather write about LeBron every day, because that's something you can cover year round in LA and bring in outsiders, come sell a bunch of merchandise again. That would be like the only reason. If LeBron's looking at it from a marketing perspective and not a legacy perspective, yeah, he could go out to LA, sell a bunch more shoes, sell a bunch of jerseys. Doesn't matter which team he plays for. Like I said, LA, you're going to pull no matter what. Once the Clippers got good, a lot of those Lakers fans, the same ones you've seen, they were at the Clippers games, watching CP3 and Blake Griffin. And that Clippers team that made a deep run last year, a couple years ago, I don't know if they went all the way to the finals because the Spurs were so good back then. But, yeah, people flip, and they just want LeBron in that market. Basically, they want him out of the Cleveland market. Because if you remember, when he ran to Miami, ESPN immediately started their Heat tracker or whatever they did. They started to have their own Miami branch just for basically following him year round. And so I think it's just a pipe dream from people, to be honest. They just want that to happen because they know they'll get more clicks, more views.
But I would say the other thing, too, there's no logical reason at this point why LeBron should move out west, other than if he just wants a change of scenery and doesn't want to live in cold Cleveland. That might be, like, just destination-wise, maybe the only thing that drives a person to leave. I mean, you already have a team that's won a championship there. You have all the pieces that are around and can handle another championship run. Your only real competition, at this point, is Boston that you beat last year. I think it makes more sense for him to stay home and just continue to build on that hometown legacy that he could possibly, add a couple more years. And I mean, at this point, he's already won the championships, the titles, everything. He doesn't really have a whole lot else to contend with unless he's chasing those ghosts of Kobe or Jordan and wanting to distance himself in that aspect. But that may be one of those things that how much do you have to do to prove yourself that you're a different player compared to those other guys? It may be something that you end up just beating yourself up about, trying to compare yourself when there isn't really a comparison, depending on how you look at it.
Well, to build on that, with the same thing, like you said about having the extra competition, he's going to wear himself out. He's already so old. He's already played so many minutes that he doesn't have that many years left. If he's going to go out to play on the Lakers or the Clippers, the Clippers are in a tailspin too. Like, they've missed their chance. It's gone. Everyone's old. The Lakers, it's a rebuild. So he's kind of at Cleveland. You really, right now, yeah, it's competitive, but not really. The Celtics are kind of like the second tier, and there's no one else. The third tier is kind of jam-packed with Washington and some of the teams Jeff named. But like once Horford moved from Atlanta, that kind of swung the balance. They're not on that Cavs tier. So he has basically an easier path, where if he goes out west, he's going to have to battle Golden State in the conference finals every year just to get a chance to get to the championship, where he could run into a fresh Boston team. Right now, they're too. They pull in Blake Griffin or they get someone else. Maybe Paul George, like I said, they can pull someone, and they go ahead and make a fresh run, tearing through the East. Everyone's nice and fresh. LeBron or even Golden State, they're coming off a crazy 7-game series in the West. Someone gets hurt, they're beaten down. It just makes it that much harder when he could just sit there in Cleveland and get there every year.
And another wild name that I'll throw out there is that Kristaps Porzingis from the Knicks. He's been having his issues with Phil Jackson and not really agreeing with the management style and things that are going on there. So he may be a name that could be being shopped around this offseason. Could Boston be a place? Do they have the assets? I mean, coming off of the trade with the Sixers, they may have, the picks or pieces that they could possibly package something together to draw a name if they were interested. But, who knows what Danny Ainge has in store.
Yeah, the best move that they could have made was for Kevin Love. And when that didn't happen, now he's kind of like a third, fourth wheel in Cleveland, if you can say that. And when you look at it that way, like what could have been, he could have been the guy there. And the Cavs, they're not going to deal him to Boston. There's just no way. So Porzingis, could he fit? Yeah. Like I said, they just need a big playmaker down low to kind of offset Isaiah Thomas. And hopefully Isaiah Thomas is there for a long time.
Yeah, that's interesting you brought up Kevin Love. I think it was last week I was bashing on him. If the Cavs are going to make any serious move this year with trading someone or any roster moves, I feel like Kevin Love has to be it. Unless with the GM leaving, they're sold on LeBron going out west or leaving. I think the move is to get rid of Kevin Love. So with that being said, who's the guy? Jimmy Butler. I saw that a lot of talk today of Jimmy Butler, but honestly, with Kyrie, I don't think that's a good fit. So if you're going to get rid of Kevin Love and bring in Jimmy Butler, I feel like you're going to have to deal Kyrie away, which I don't think would be a very smart decision by them. But if they want to keep Kyrie, Jimmy Butler, then is it LeBron's turn, to get traded? I'm not really sure, but I think it's going to be very, very interesting to see what Cleveland does in the next couple of months. But I also saw that LeBron actually tweeted, and it's interesting, like you said, like when he went to Miami, ESPN was all over him, but he doesn't usually tweet that much, especially about basketball. But he basically came out and said, no one appreciated you, Griff, like I did. You brought us a championship, essentially. Like, I think I saw, some pretty strong words from LeBron that he's not happy with necessarily the direction the organization's moving forward with.
Well, I think LeBron there, he was basically like the GM. Like, he was taking weeks off or days off, and then they would come and the Cavs would make a move. Like, I think he was hand-picking his team. And you can't just win by picking your buddies. And maybe he was hurt when Durant left, and now their owner's kind of like, I got the championship, whatever, we're going to kind of build for the future. Because, I mean, think about it. He had to deal with it one time. LeBron, he could leave at any time. So he can't just be bringing in and wasting all these contracts to bring in LeBron's buddies.
If you're talking about LeBron's buddies, then Carmelo Anthony is coming in. Chris Paul, Carmelo, those are all LeBron's friends from the Olympic teams, which I would like to see Carmelo and LeBron play together. That's more of a, little kid fantasy of mine, I guess you'd say, like superstars getting together. But I don't know how necessarily well they'd play together, but I think it'd be pretty cool to watch. You got Carmelo, Chris Paul, and LeBron, but right there, if you put those three together, there we got another super team in the East. And
I don't think they would get together in the East. I think they would go to the Clippers. They have Doc Rivers. LeBron respects Doc because he was the Celtics coach when they were beating him. So they have Doc Rivers, they have Chris Paul already. I don't know what the contract situation's like. If they can deal something with Blake Griffin, deal him, cut him, whatever, get that contract out, then they can bring in. And you're right, I forgot about Butler. There's been rumors about him going out west too. So I just don't know, and it's not going to happen this year. Maybe some of the contract moves, but it's something we'll keep an eye on. But talking about teams that are moving out to the west, we're going to switch here and jump back into some NHL talk. The expansion draft is happening because the NHL decided to add one West team, which is still confusing to me, and it's kind of a ripoff for the Penguins and the other Eastern Conference teams because the unbalanced divisions, if you're not a hockey fan, they had 30 teams in the league. Instead of having balanced divisions 15 and 15, they had double in the East. So there were 2 extra teams, but the same amount of playoff spots. So the extra competition waters it down. This year they're bumping up to 31 teams by adding a team in Vegas, which basically broke ground for the Raiders to move there. This was the start, and on Sunday, I actually had a source send me the Penguins protected draft. I tried to get that out as soon as possible before the Pittsburgh Penguins announced it. I saw someone had leaked it to CBS, so I wasn't sure if we beat them or not. But I'm going to go ahead and bring that up quick. We talked about it last week, the expansion draft. So how it works is the new team coming into the league can pick from players from any of the existing teams. So it's up to each NHL team to tell the new team which of their players are off the table. So for the Penguins, obviously Crosby, he's off. Hornquist, Kessel, Malkin, Dumoulin, Letang, Mata, Schultz, and as we predicted here, the new goalie, Matt Murray, which leaves Marc-Andre Fleury as the goalie that's available for Vegas. And I don't know what you guys think, but I'm thinking that that's the best goalie that's available, and I'm assuming that's who Vegas is going to take from Pittsburgh.
I definitely think that that's going to end up being the pick, even though the Penguins fan in me says I would like to see somebody else taken. I think Fleury, he wants to be an everyday starter. He is an everyday starter in the league, but when you compare Murray to Fleury, Murray's younger. His cap hit isn't as big. I don't have the contract numbers, but I think he's being paid less. He's younger. He's played arguably better in the playoffs. I think that's definitely going to end up being the pick that will help the Penguins out long term. I think from a GM standpoint, that makes the most sense because then you cut some of the animosity in the fan base of is it Fleury, is it Murray, who should be the starter, especially when you saw the playoff runs, when Fleury had his game where they gave up all the goals, it was like hurry up and put Murray in, but then when Murray gave up a bunch of goals, you had people on the other side that were saying, well, he needs to be pulled and give Fleury another chance. It kind of cuts that argument out.
Yeah, and as you were saying, Matt, looking at some of the requirements that are with this expansion draft, apparently Vegas must select the following number of players at each position: 14 forwards, 9 defensemen, and 3 goaltenders. So if they're going to take 3 goaltenders, they're definitely going to take Marc-Andre Fleury. I honestly think he's the best goalie that's available, and if you're going to take 3 of them, I think it's a no-brainer to take him. At least, if not your number 1, your number 2. Looking at the Penguins, and also some of these more rules here, they have to take 1 player from each team. So looking at the available players, for Pittsburgh, I'd say Marc-Andre Fleury is the best one on the table. So I feel like it's a no-brainer that Vegas is going to take Marc-Andre Fleury. Just to point out, a couple more rules here while I'm looking at it. I think it's interesting when they talk about the protected players. There's a couple different things you can do to protect your players. One of the things is you can pick 7 forwards, 3 defensemen, and a goaltender. That's one of the 2 options. The second option here is 8 skaters total, forwards and defensemen, and 1 goaltender. which looking at this is kind of strange to me. Because in option A, you have 11 people there you're protecting, and in option B, apparently you only have 9. So I don't know why you get 2 more two overall more players you can protect in option A. That's just one thing here they have listed. Also, apparently anyone movement clause is also protected. People who aren't signed, and also I think this is a good thing for younger players. It's all first and second year professionals will be exempt from selection. So if you're in the farm clubs and you're coming up, you're not to Vegas. Also, I think this is interesting. They says players with potential career-ending injuries who are missed more than 60 games in consecutive years have to be deemed necessary by the NHL to be added to this expansion team. So if you're thinking about the Penguins, Chris Letang, I'm pretty sure, has had multiple years where he's missed 60 consecutive games. So if I was the Penguins, putting him on that list, why would the NHL agree to let an older player like Chris Letang get traded to Vegas? Maybe he's just that much of a splash defensive player, but I think there's a lot of mind games that go into this. So I'm just looking through, I'm trying to pick out the Richie said they also have a new schedule for how teams play each other, how many divisional, non-divisional games they have. There's a lot here. It's hard to read it all off at one point. But what do you guys think about that? I think it's interesting that the one scenario has 11 players they can protect, and the other has 9, and I don't see any underlying reason.
I think it comes down to the defensemen. I think they're harder to come by. So by giving them the option, I think the first one you said it's mostly forwards or whatever, centers. So they want more defensemen to be on the table. Yeah, you can protect more scorers if you're a team like Pittsburgh that has a championship caliber team, but you're at the risk of losing some defensemen. Now Pittsburgh, they might have went with that option because of the goalie situation. There's a good chance they know that they're losing Fleury. I saw he actually dedicated a rec facility over the weekend or today where there were people lined up kind of for his autograph, for him to open this park, and it just seemed like it was kind of like a farewell tour. Now I know the draft is it tomorrow night? So by the time, if you're not watching this live, by the time you hear this, good chance that that's already over and you know who we lose. But right now, that's what I'm thinking. And that's pretty much the reason and the strategy the Penguins went with here.
One of the things that...
guys, real quick, Dad, I just saw this on USA Today. They have a list of the top 10 best players available for the Vegas Golden Knights. And Marc-Andre Fleury is ranked number 2 overall.
Who do they have number 1?
Number 1, I don't know the name, honestly. This guy who plays for the Ducks, he's a defenseman. He's a 26-year-old. He plays approximately 22 minutes per game. They essentially have him getting picked up in the Ducks because he could be a franchise player, it looks like here.
Yeah, that makes sense. I think Fleury, how many goalies are you going to get that have won a Stanley Cup? It has to be almost 0.
Number 3 is another interesting one. The old Pittsburgh James Neal, who's currently with the Predators, who we just saw in the NHL Finals. They have him listed number 3 overall. He has 40 goals in the season. He tallied 20 or more goals in the last 9. I guess he's only 29 years old, so he's a lot younger than I thought he was. Because I remember him playing with the Penguins there for a couple years.
Now, I would think if you're a smart GM and you're considering picking up Neal, maybe if an option if you're looking at Pittsburgh's roster of available picks, and you decide for whatever reason that you don't want Fleury, whether it be injuries, whether it be sketchy playoff performances, if you decide not to go with him, maybe the option that you go with is Chris Kunitz. He's another contract that would be I think would benefit Pittsburgh to have them dump that contract, and then to pair him back up again with James Neal would be an ideal situation because they've played together in the past. They've been successful together. It could be an easy fit as far as looking at pairings and wondering, well, how is this guy going to play with this guy? You already know that they have that chemistry together that might be a good fit.
I don't know if I remember correctly, but didn't they win the cup together, that first one there in 08 or 09?
Yep.
So, like you said, they have championship chemistry. The only thing I don't like, I'm trying to look right now at what his age. Okay, he's 37. I knew he was, an older guy. I don't know if you want to pick up someone that age for an expansion team, but if you're going to go with the James Neal pick there, you can get 2-3 years out of him, and, hopefully that chemistry can translate into some quality wins, maybe a playoff push in the early comings, but the West is tough right now. I mean, you still have the Blackhawks, you have the Predators, you have the Ducks, you have the Sharks. I mean, it's not like the NBA and the NHL. The East and the West is pretty tough. And the East, you have the two, back-to-back, Pittsburgh Penguin, Stanley Cup champions, and you also have the Caps. So I think it's going to be pretty interesting this upcoming season with this expansion team in the NHL.
Yeah, I think this is just a bad year for it to happen for Pittsburgh, unfortunate, because you're going to lose probably your backup goalie. That's going to set you up for resting some of your players to make another run to try to go for a three-peat. It's just tough whenever you're going that deep into the year, basically from October to June, skating every day. You don't get that. Your body doesn't get that break whenever you're two-time champions, and so here you're losing a quality goaltender that can give you some extra minutes, most likely in this draft. So it's unfortunate that it's going to make it that much tougher for them next year.
Yeah, I'm just right now trying to look at some players that are protected by the Blackhawks. Vegas will not be able to select forwards Jonathan Toews, Kane, Hossa, Seabrook, Keith. That's another similar team, like the Penguins. The Blackhawks, won a couple championships there. They also have Crawford protected. They're going to lose someone good. And that's what's very interesting about this expansion team. You're essentially picking up at least one very good to, I don't want to say moderately good player. They're going to be competitive next year, which is going to be fun. I'm glad, the way it's set up, I'm glad they're, not going to be an expansion team and just, be, boring to watch.
Next topic I have, switching to baseball, and just for the people that are listening, I think what I'm gonna try to set up is each week I'm gonna start to tweet out our topics ahead of time and kind of add them to our background here, so that people know, kind of like ESPN does with their ticker or whatever. But that way people can kind of follow along and see where we're at, or if you want to jump in and share a link directly to something, I'll be working on setting that up. But this week, I'm going to go ahead and hopefully this plays, because we're trying to add different media into the show. So bear with us as we try to get all these details ironed out. But last night, there was a play at the plate, and I think it was a Cubs game. Anthony Rizzo slid in the home. So I'm going to take a little break here, guys, and play this video. Now, he is sliding into the catcher. So this view I have here, it's a GIF, so it's going to play a couple times. They called him out. Obviously, the catcher held on to the ball. So he's out by just baseball definition here. So here's another angle at it. And they were trying to say that, I don't know if they're going to suspend him or what, but it's all over basic talk radio. And since we're doing the show here today, I figured it'd be a good video to show. To me, he lands on home plate. I know it's not, the catcher can't block the play. I honestly think if he would have took a regular slide, he could have knocked the ball out with his hand. So it kind of makes sense that he got out because of the approach he took. but it wasn't like he was sliding completely out of the baseline. And if you guys need to see this video, because I don't know, probably can't see it on the stream, I sent you a text so you can see what I'm looking at. But he's close enough down the line when he's sliding. He's slightly inside the base path, maybe about a foot. But he's sliding towards the catcher, trying to break it up with his knee. He doesn't get it done. He's out. I don't think he should be suspended. I don't think these are problems in baseball. If he would have made a slide and used his hand, he has his hand up like a slap, which only ever worked that one time when Alex Rodriguez made that slap at the ball. Ridiculous. But this time, if he would have punched through with his hand, he probably easily would have broke that up. But instead, he made the slide, he got out. I don't see a problem with this. It's no big deal for me. What do you guys think?
Well, I'll start it off. To me, this is a baseball play. By the rules of the definitions, he's out. He obviously didn't avoid the catcher. But growing up, I mean, baseball a couple of years ago was way different. This, to me, is just baseball. If he's suspended, I'm going to be highly upset. Because at the end of the day, he's trying to score. He could have easily avoided him, I understand. But to suspend a player for just going with like natural baseball instincts and trying to score, I think it's a little uncalled for if he gets suspended. But I don't know. I'm just, as I'm talking about, I'm looking at it. He clearly makes no attempt to slide around him. Anyone who's played baseball here knows that there's two different ways he could have avoided him. He could have easily stepped out, slid away, or he could have dove head first and try to just tap the bag, sticking your hand out. But like you said, he could have even tried to hit the ball out of his hand. He didn't have to do what he did, but I have no problem with it either way. I think he's definitely out based on the rules they are today, but I also don't think he should be suspended.
Matt?
I definitely don't think he should be suspended, but I think baseball even though you're not getting as much contact as you do basketball or football, there are those unwritten rules. And when it comes to those kinds of bang-bang plays, if he wants to make that kind of slide, he wants to go in aggressively, baseball has done an excellent job in the past of handling those types of issues. And usually when he gets up to the plate the next time, the pitcher just plunks him and they move forward with it. That's the kind of acceptable baseball that kind of follows the way the NHL is, where they say, well, it's just the way the game's played. They promote a physical style. I think what you're seeing, and I don't think it's so much with baseball or with hockey, but I think with sports in general, everyone is becoming more concussion oriented, which, Jeff, you had that excellent piece earlier on concussions and things like that. I think they're becoming more aware of it, so they're trying to take that element out of the game. So if he gets a suspension, I think it's only because they're trying to protect the investment and look at what's in the best interest of the players, because they'll continue doing it because it's what they do. But I think when you boil it down, you really need to be putting things in place to protect the players so that they protect themselves. You take that element out, even though it's something that for years and for generations people say it's part of the game. It was a baseball play. It was a normal move that happens. With the way we're going and being more health conscientious of our players and athletes, I think that's kind of the direction that they're probably going to go, and you'll probably see, even if it's a slap on the wrist, a small fine of some sort or suspension.
You brought up, that's great. I think you made a perfect comment there. Now this could easily, in my opinion, be a finable offense. Show them, hey, you can't do this again. But like you brought up, baseball is that sport where, and that's one of the reasons why I love baseball growing up. There's so many unwritten rules. You're in the batter's box, you can't sneak singles at the catcher. Just so many little things I can go on. Like there's just so many little rules of baseball, and like you said, if you break the rule, you better believe if you're getting shin high and a fastball coming at you or something like that, you're going to get hit. But yeah, he shouldn't be suspended. But you brought up the whole health conscious, protecting players, whether it's football, basketball, whatever, soccer even, heading the soccer ball, can lead to multiple concussions. Like I understand it, but at the end of the day, sports are for entertainment. Let them play. they made the correct call, definitely out, but don't suspend him, fine him. At the end of the day, if you're taking money away from a player, they're going to get the pitcher. Can't slide at the catcher. So, I don't know, Richie, what do you think about that?
Well, he's definitely, he tries to slide. I think where they could get him is he doesn't actually extend his leg, and I don't know if that's in the rules. It could be an unwritten rule. To me, the catcher, yeah, he's getting hit in a collision. He kind of like throws his hands up like, ooh, no, don't hit me. To me, it's a weak slide. I know he's out no matter what. If he slides regular through the bag hard and uses his, and he probably might not want to use his hand. Is he left-handed? Actually, I think he might be right-handed. I can't remember. But, I mean, you're going to go through, you want to make a slide. To me, that's not the way to do it. If you're sliding directly at the guy, like if I was the manager, I'd be mad. Because the way he hits him, the catcher kind of backs up like this, and it only helps him secure the ball. Because it's basically, he's tucking the ball in for him. Where if he slides directly to the bag, flails an elbow out, something, you catch the ball and then you're going to kick it up, the catcher has to hold on to it. Where he's doing the job for the catcher. Is the catcher, could he get hurt? Yeah, to be honest, with that weak slide, I think he has a better chance of getting hurt, the runner. Rizzo. Yeah. Now, if he would put his leg out, definitely into the catcher's leg plate, yeah. Then I think that's why he didn't do that. He knew. So I think he conceded the slide. He's like, well, I'm going to be out, so I might as well make a little bit of contact here. I don't think his intention was to hurt the catcher. To me, I would try to slide in, punch the glove. Punch the glove. There's a chance the ball flies out. A better chance than knocking the glove into his chest to help him secure the ball. But that's just me. I mean, the other option would be to kind of just do a juke. I never seen anyone do this really in Major League Baseball, something I used to do. The catcher, when they're taught now, they can't block the line. So the catcher's going to catch the ball in front of home plate. When he does that, juke inside like you're going to run at him. And if you look at the catcher, he rears back like he's going to protect himself to get ready for the contact. He jukes like that, and then he dives out around and tries to touch the corner of the base with his hand. If he catches the catcher backing up, there's a good chance he's safe. So I did it myself. I've seen a handful of base runners used to do things like that. One of them would be Kenny Lofton. I remember him. He was a master of doing all kind of crazy base running moves, diving into first base and other things. He was a big influence on me growing up. So I would kind of emulate that and do the same thing. It's kind of a lost art now. Now you see a weak slide like this, and of course the media's outraged. They want to see him suspended because someone could get hurt. If he makes an actual baseball slide there, it's more interesting. Punch the glove. Is there a rule that he can't punch the glove? I don't know. I don't think so. I mean, they're not going to suspend him if he punches the glove. And if he does the juke move, which no one ever does, who knows? He catches the catcher off guard. Then it's like one of those blooper moments. Everyone's laughing at the catcher for falling for a juke from a big first baseman. Yeah. That's my thoughts on it.
I think one of the things that he looked at with it is that I think he started to realize that in Major League Baseball, they're looking at the catcher as that defenseless player that you see like in the NFL where you're not allowed to have those crackback blocks that are like the big hit plays. I think he realized if he goes in full bore, he's definitely going to get fined. So you kind of give it up a little bit, recognize I don't want to come full bore at him like maybe he would have 15 years ago. But by going in a little bit easier, that mindset is just, I just want to just, I'm dead to rights at this point, just end the play. And you maybe, because it's happening so fast, he doesn't have time to process, do I juke, do I do this? It's just what comes naturally, which was basically fall down and flail. Instead of making an athletic move and trying to knock it out. So I think he's still going to end up getting dinged for it, but it's not going to come back to bite him, I think, as hard as he is. Had he have gone barreling into him full bore, had he have really gone into him, I think you really would see a harsher penalty or suspension.
Matt, I think you brought up a funny thing there. Anthony Rizman is kind of a bigger, bulkier first baseman. I don't see the athleticism at all there. He could, like Richie said, do a little head fake, jab step. Like, he could have done anything. He didn't even attempt to And I think, Richie, you're right too. By that weak slide, there's a good chance. Like I'm watching it over and over. His cleat gets stuck in the ground, tears the knee, hurts his hamstring. Honestly, I think it's more dangerous for him sliding like that because when you're growing up, playing baseball, you're taught properly how to slide to protect yourself. Because when you slide, you guys know, you've both played baseball for years. You bang your knees up pretty easy. It's rough going in, to second base, into home, sliding like that. Like, at the end of the day, he's going to hurt himself doing that.
Well, even look at his hands. Like I said, his hand goes up into the mask. Is there anything worse than getting your finger caught in a catcher's face mask? That makes my stomach churn just looking at it.
It's like a football face mask, too. It hurts like hell.
And like I said, I grew up watching guys like Lofton, Ricky Henderson. There are a bunch of guys, like, we were taught, like, hold your batting gloves while you run so that you don't break a finger. He's flailing like this as he slides, basically saying, like, one of my fingers could be broken here. And plus his knee, hamstring, everything you said. I don't know. That's just an awful. I think we should just be laughing at that slide by Rizzo instead of trying to say that he was trying to hurt the catcher. He is definitely in defense mode. Like Matt said, maybe he just couldn't process it once he gets going. Like, he might not be that athletic of a first baseman. That's just he didn't know what else to do. He couldn't bail. I've seen people try to, like, jump over the catcher. He could have tried that, but then it is too late.
Yeah, that's my favorite, when people go upstairs. You see the catcher go down and they try to hurdle him or something. That's my favorite, but I don't think Anthony Rizzo's in high school didn't practice hurdles. Let's say that he wasn't going over the top here. But I'll say this: even though he was a little too athletic here, the dude can hit the baseball. And if I remember, I know you brought it up. I'm pretty sure he's right-handed and bats lefty, if I'm not mistaken. But yeah, he's just. That's funny. I think it's his throwing hand there. If he breaks his, throwing hand, what's going to be in the DL for 10 days? Like, I don't know how it works. I don't you go in the DL, but it's just silly. And people are going to be ranting and raving how he should be suspended, but honestly, I can't think now. Who's the manager for the Cubs? He was the Rays manager.
Madden.
Dude, Madden should be shooting his ass out for this. Like, that's just silly, honestly.
Yeah. And that's something that you would show a rookie or show your minor league club and say, hey, this is what you don't do. Do anything else. I mean, they can call me up. I'll give them a bunch of different options. I can even go run to the base path right now. So, Cubs, call me. I'll show you guys how to, like, do some evasive maneuvers. I'm sure there's some other people that could help, but that's not a slide. And for people saying that he should be hurt for trying to hurt the catcher, he's clearly not trying to hurt the catcher. Anyone that's played baseball knows the number one way to do that would be to slide spike first right into the side of the shin. Like, he's in that position. The catcher was actually in an awesome position, which is probably why he kind of just gave up and was like, to me, it just seemed like he did a fake ass push so that he'd go back in the dugout and be like, oh, I tried, guys. Hey, did you see that out there? I tried to break up the play. I didn't just give up, but I don't know. To me, that's a weak attempt. And if I was a player on my team, or even if I did that, I would be embarrassed.
Yeah, that's a good point. Like, I think he was just trying to get deep effort there, but I know if he was on my team coming to the dugout, like, dude, just get down. What are you doing? Like, slide. And like, you brought a good point too. If he was actually trying to be malicious and hurt him, the easiest way to do that is run through him low to the shoulder, or like you said, spike him. You can do multiple things there. He just, he was just stuck in no man's land. I think Matt's right. He just gave up. He's just like, oh well, we're going to the ground here,
Yeah, and so Madden, first thing he should have been like, why weren't you protecting your hands? Like, you want to break a finger? Well, instead of doing that girly slap. I don't know. That's my thoughts on that. That's the baseball talk. I did see, Clint Hurdle said the Pirates are ready to come back. They're going to make a run for the division. What are they, 5 games back, I think? I saw it came across my feed.
But I will say that,
you froze, man.
Yeah, the Pirates are playing much better than they have in the last couple of months. Andrew McCutcheon's finally waking up, having a little, glimmer back to his, MVP days. I think his batting average is still only in the 50s or, 250s, 260s, which is, piss poor for an MVP like him. But the Pirates are eating up. Whether they make a run or not, I don't know. I think they have enough pitching, honestly. Garrett Cole, I haven't watched him his last couple outings, but I remember at the beginning of the season, he was not pitching up to his caliber that he's, used to, performing on a, given day. But, hey, if the Pirates go on a run here, I won't be mad. I'll say that.
I think pitching's always been a problem for Pittsburgh. I don't know if the farm system needs overwork or something. I mean, they got desperate there. They were signing guys from India who have never pitched before, I think. I think that's the country they went to. Like, they were scouting a country that didn't even have real organized baseball, trying to bring in to kind of, like, give that farmhand a boost. If it would have worked out, it would have been miraculous, and they would be heroes. But they tried it, so they're definitely trying. But I think that's where they need it, and I just don't think that it's just so tough. Without a good farm system, it's tough to compete with pitching. Pitching, I think, is the one thing that your farm system benefits from the most.
Well, good God. It seemed like every time you turn around, anyone that was worth any kind of value for the Pirates was being traded away for future prospects. And, I mean, at what point do you become just a professional farm team for everyone else? Players come up, they get there, they start playing well, and then before the deadline, they're traded off to a competitive team for a handful of future prospects. At some point, those prospects have to start panning out. You can't just have a whole farm system full of people that then, eventually keep signing those people that you're developing in your system to these longer deals and let them play out their contracts.
Yeah, let me clarify. When I said like the farm system, it's not just loading up on talent. I think it's actually like the coaching and the development. They need to get some better coaches in the lower levels to help build these guys up. You can keep throwing a bunch of diamonds in the rough, but unless you're sitting there polishing them, nothing's going to happen. You might as well just throw them to someone else to do the actual dirty work.
Well, guys, I think it's interesting. A couple years ago, Pittsburgh was regarded as having the best farm club in baseball. But the problem is, like Matt said, they were building these players up, teaching them the fundamentals, getting them ready for the major leagues, and next thing you know, they're dishing them off because, as we've seen the last couple of years, the Pirates don't make that splash trade, that great acquisition. They're just, run of the mill, just want to get enough wins to keep PNC full. It's honestly pathetic because, was it 2 years ago, the year we lost in the wild card game, or maybe the year before that, then we lost to the Cardinals in the divisional round? I can't remember all the details. But those 2 seasons, they were 1 or 2 pitchers away from winning it all. They had the team, they had the system, they had the coach in Clint Hurdle. But, Pittsburgh being a small market, which that's what's so crazy about the Pirates when you have, the Steelers and the Penguins winning championships. The Pirates haven't won. I know, Richie. This is all you here. They haven't tried to win a championship since the '70s. Man up, spend some money, get that one or 2 players to push you over the edge and win a championship.
Yeah, and that's something I want to be diving in, is to look at their payroll and stuff and to see. I know I've teased it before on earlier podcasts, but now since we got the video thing rolling early, I wanted to actually put that in video because it's hard to just talk about numbers. That's boring. It's easier for people to look at it. So I'm definitely going to bring that in and look at the Pirates and kind of see what years. And if you look at the numbers, they did try to spend the year you're talking about, and it was kind of just ended up being a blip on the radar. So, yeah, trading all the farm guys, bringing them in, at some point they need to just develop them and just roll with it. Matt, it looked like you were going to say something.
One of the teams that I like to follow is the St. Louis Cardinals because I like the way that they have consistently put out a competitive team. There have been years where they've been down a little bit, but as a whole, the franchise has been really consistent over the last 20 years. And part of that is they have an owner and a management that's not afraid to go out and spend some money on a prospect or 2 when the time comes. They've done a great job developing talent within the system with Albert Pujols, with Matt Adams that they just sent to the Braves. You know, they've developed their own guys within the system, but then they've also gone out and they've signed signed good talent to help put them over the top and to get them competitive and to have them for those deeper playoff runs. I think it's spending at the right time. With the Pirates, one of the statements that always stands out to me is the management always says, if you fill the stadium, we'll produce the talent. Well, the stadium fills out. PNC Park is one of the nicest ballparks in America. People go to Pirate games just for that experience. But as a Pirate fan, if you fall flat on your face because the talent is never going to be there. They're never going to spend the money until the owners change. They're making money hand over fist. There's no reason why they can't spend a little bit more to put a more competitive team on there than what they're doing. I think it's just, why buy the cow when the milk's free, so to speak? If you, as an owner, if you know you're making money and you don't have to put a good team out, where's the incentive to try to chase a championship? If your bottom line is just to make money, and you're getting it on your merchandise and season ticket sales, and you can sell that, just win just enough to feel that glimmer of hope that we're almost there. There's no incentive to force change.
And that goes with, the Pirates, that's a pretty awesome mascot to have for a team because there's really no comparison. There's no Pirate mascot in the NFL. I know there's like the Buccaneer variation or whatever, but like they can sell merchandise when like Disney comes out with another Pirates of the Caribbean. They can be like, hey, look here, we have a bunch of Pirates shirts. And I've seen people do that didn't even realize they were baseball team shirts just because they liked Pirates. So yeah, if you're a manager that just wants to sit back or an owner and just do it for a business, yeah, unfortunately for fans, it hurts. And that's why the one thing that always made me mad was when they blocked Mark Cuban from actually buying the Pirates, because that would have been perfect for revitalizing the entire Pittsburgh area as a whole. But we can end on that. So basically the format as we're doing these live shows, going to try to go around an hour or so. I'm not going to have a hard limit where we cut off. Like I said, we're going to kind of go through different topics. We have a couple things we're going to bring in next week. One of the things that we're going to look at, the Football Outsiders have been debating on the top 5 NFL defenses of the last 30 years. They had Philadelphia at the top of that list, which no way should Philadelphia be at the top of a list of top defenses. So we'll be talking about that. Another thing that I wanted to bring in, I was going to bring it in this week, but I figured I'd give it a week to rest. The University of Michigan leaked out that they are expecting their TV deal next year to be worth $51 million, which is outrageous. And I think the TV deal with that, even with Texas's Longhorn Network, I think the Big Ten, all those schools, are going to now make more TV money than Texas and the SEC. On the heels of that, the reason I wanted to bring it in, now you see the new members crying. I saw some writer in New Jersey saying that Rutgers deserves more of a share because they're not getting full shares. And so this might only be a blip where the Big Ten has a big gap over these other teams. And then once other teams catch up in their shares. So right now, I think Nebraska's still getting a fake share. Maryland and Rutgers definitely are. I think Rutgers next year is getting $11 million, which is more money than what they would have made in the AAC or whatever conference they were in before, the American Athletic or the old Big East. So there's no way they should be mad. But can you compete with an Ohio State or a Michigan or a Penn State when they're making $51 million and flying across to Italy and meeting the Pope? No. So, you guys have any other thoughts? Because I'm ready to end it on that.
I just have a few things. Well, first off, apparently I'm the football wizard because that's my new picture on the show. But I'm piggybacking off of Ian Rappaport right now. I think he's now at Barstool, but he had like a bit I believe it was earlier today, about Diana Taurasi. I think it's pretty interesting. She's now the all-time leader in the WNBA, so I just want to give a shout-out to her. And I thought it was interesting how Ian Rappaport was calling out, other females in the country, celebrities, idols, feminists, bunch of people. No one's giving her love, but everyone in the NBA, including my boy LeBron, and everyone's giving her tons of love. They know what it means to, be the all-time leader scorer, what it takes to, accomplish something like that. So just a quick shout-out to her.
Matt?
I want to just say the Knowles are hanging in there with the College World Series. Mike Martin, he's slowly working on finally getting that big ring. They choked against LSU early on Saturday, but they came back this week and won, so still pulling for the Knowles, hoping that skipper gets his first championship. Hopefully they'll be able to pull that out.
Yeah, but we'll check back in on that next week. I think they play LSU next again, don't they?
Yes, they do.
Yep. So
Battle of the Long Hair.
So, all right, come back next week, and we'll hit on those topics. But thank you for watching, and follow us on YouTube if you want to watch the live stream. If not, we'll put the video up there the same day that the podcast launched. Make sure you subscribe and leave us a review. Thanks. We'll see you next week.
Thank you.